Wide Open, Chapter 2, The Inherited Order. Just as Layla was brushing her teeth, Maia sent her a text. Home safe, talk soon, X. It was their ritual, but tonight the message felt heavier. Layla could almost feel her friend's restless energy buzzing through the screen. She quickly typed back a heart emoji. Later, nestled in bed while Pascal read beside her, her phone glowed again. "I can't stop thinking about what you said," Maia texted, "about the cage, the fear of being shamed for lovingly bonding with someone else." Layla replied, "I know that feeling. It's terrifying to even look at it." She hesitated, her thumbs hovering over the screen. She felt compelled to show Maia that the cage wasn't just built from her own fears, but of centuries of suffocating rules designed specifically to restrict and control. Layla wrote, "I'm going to send you something I put together a while back. It helped me see that the guilt and the shame aren't my personal failures. They're a historical inheritance from patriarchy." She attached the document and added a final message. The men who built this system weren't thinking about our happiness or our freedom. It was about control and property. Isn't it time we, as women, designed a world that actually fits us? One where love isn't about ownership, but honesty and abundance? She put her phone down on the bedside table, the light from the screen fading into the darkness of the room. "Everything okay?" Pascal asked beside her. Layla turned to him, meeting his calm, questioning gaze. "Yeah," she replied, snuggling closer and resting her head on his chest. "I think it is. I feel like something important is beginning." In her quiet apartment on the other side of the city, Maia stared at the screen. The list of names and dates glowed in the dark. Words like control, prohibit, and punish seemed to pulse with a cold institutional energy. Beneath all that history, she could sense a deeper echo, an emotionally charged collective memory of generations of men and women whose bodies had been legislated and whose desire for human closeness had been shamed. She lay awake for hours, the pieces clicking into a liberating understanding. The life she had always accepted as normal was not a natural order. History of monogamy. Here are some of the most significant historical figures and groups who have set the course. Solon, about 638 to 558 BCE, he created laws that regulated marriage and inheritance, pushing people to form state-controlled paired households. Emperor Augustus, 63 BCE to 14 CE, he enforced strict marriage and adultery laws to control citizens' behavior, establishing the one-spouse model as the official moral standard. Augustine of Hippo, 354 to 430, he taught that sexual desire was dangerous and should only exist within a strict monogamous marriage, shaping Christian morality for centuries. Emperor Justinian I, 482 to 565, he used Roman law to regulate marriage and sexuality, punishing any alternative relationship models in order to control society. Pope Gregory I, about 540 to 604, he reinforced the idea that any intimacy outside of marriage was sinful, using church teachings to control people's behavior. Charlemagne 747 to 814, he promoted Christian marriage norms across his empire, spreading the monogamous model as part of his political and religious reforms. Pope Nicholas I, about 800 to 867. He declared that monogamous marriage was the only valid Christian union, dismissing older traditions that allowed for more flexible bonds. Rabbeinu Gershom, about 960 to 1040. He banned plural marriage for Ashkenazi Jews, legally forcing men to have only one wife. Pope Gregory VII, about 1015 to 1085, he centralized church power over marriage, making monogamy a religious duty and limiting people's freedom to engage in other forms of love. Pope Innocent III, 1161 to 1216, he tightened marriage rules even further, turning monogamy into a legally binding institution that the Church could enforce across Europe. The Council of Trent, 1545 to 1563. This was the Church's definitive move to take control of marriage away from private contracts, making it a fully institutionalized, public, sacramental, and exclusively monogamous union under the Church's authority. European colonial powers, 16th to 20th centuries, they claimed full control over marriage in colonized societies worldwide, thereby globalizing the European model. They suppressed indigenous relationship structures and prohibited any alternative models, punishing anything outside the one-couple structure. Napoleon 1769 to 1821. He replaced local customs with a unified legal system that made monogamy the only socially accepted and legally recognized form of intimacy across many countries. Interpretations by the Church. The Church built monogamy by selecting verses about unity, loyalty, and respect, then interpreting them through a later moral lens. None of these passages actually forbid multi-partner relationships. Genesis 2:24. A man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Traditional interpretation. Church leaders treated one flesh as a divine blueprint for one man and one woman in a lifelong bond. They argued that two means only two, and anything else is outside God's design. Different perspective. The text does not forbid having more than one partner, nor does it speak about exclusivity. It describes deep union, not a legal structure. Matthew 19:4 to 6. Have you not read, "The two shall become one flesh"? So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What God has joined together, let no one separate. Traditional interpretation. The Church read this as Jesus endorsing strict monogamy and making divorce almost impossible. They use this as a key proof that Jesus wanted one lifelong marriage. Different perspective. The context is divorce, not the number of partners. Jesus speaks against treating partners as disposable, not against wider forms of stable care. Matthew 5:27 to 28. Anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Traditional interpretation. This was taken as a call to extreme sexual discipline, supporting the idea that any desire outside the marriage bond is sinful. Different perspective. This passage critiques objectification and selfish desire, not loving or consensual intimacy. It warns against using people, not against forming more than one caring bond. 1 Corinthians 7:2. Because of sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband. Traditional interpretation. Paul's words were treated as a clear command, one man, one woman. The verse was used to justify a closed, possessive model in which intimacy was limited to maintain social order. This became a cornerstone for monogamy in Christian ethics. Different perspective. Paul is giving practical advice to a troubled community. He tries to reduce chaos and harm by guiding people toward responsible intimacy, not by declaring that human beings must be exclusive or that one partner should belong to another. The verse reflects a practical solution for that moment, not a universal rule about love, freedom, or how many caring bonds a human heart can hold.